What's up guys, Gear Greg, another amazing video today. Today we're going to be talking about my predictions for UFC 13 featuring Alex Pereira and Magomadev Ankalaev. Now generally for a video like this I would like to feature everything, so the early prelims, but I don't really know anybody on the early prelims and the prelims, so I feel like it would be kind of stupid for me to talk about it and give my opinion if I know absolutely nothing about it. So for that reason, we're only going to be talking about the main card, and there are some pretty good fights other than obviously the cancellation of Gaethje and Hooker, but I will still try to give my opinion on that if I can. So starting off, we have Bobby Green and Mauricio Ruffy. Now, for some reason, it says King Green instead of Bobby Green. I don't know what happened here. It's probably something I have to look up. But Bobby Green, King Green if you want to be exact, I guess. And now for this one, I am going to say Mauricio is going to take the W here. I mean, he is an inch taller than Bobby Green. He's 10 years younger than him. In general, I feel like Mauricio just has more resources. I feel like he's on a better team. Fighting Nerds is a lot more well-known than Icon MMA. And just overall, I feel like Mauricio will take the W here. There isn't a lot to say about this. I mean, Bobby Green is getting older and older. His last loss was to Paddy Pimblett, whereas Mauricio hasn't lost in his last 5 fights. Bobby Green has lost twice. And Bobby Green is kind of like a 50-50 type of fighter. He either wins or he doesn't, whereas I feel like most fighters aren't like that. Now, again, I'm not a Bobby Green hater, but, I mean, we can watch this recent, his debut, Mauricio Ruffy, in his debut at UFC 301, where he was fighting Malarkey, I believe is how you pronounce that name. Anyway, you can see how he's just kind of picking apart this person. He's not running in. He's not being an idiot. He's staying at distance. He's picking this person down, and he's really doing some damage, as opposed to Bobby Green. I'll play the clip now where he just kind of ran in haphazardly into Paddy Pimblett and, got choked out. And that's why I do think that Bobby Green will not do so well against him, is because he is a bit of an older fighter, which makes him a little bit more cocky, and he kind of just runs into situations that he does not have to be in whatsoever. So yeah, for this one, definitely Mauricio. Let's get to the next one. Next one is a female fight. Now, unfortunately, I have not heard of either of these females because I do not consume female MMA. This might sound like a joke, but I actually do not watch it for a multitude of reasons. Mainly just because I don't like it. Regardless, I took a wonderful look at both of these lovely ladies, and I'm going to say that Yasmin Lucindo takes a W here just because she looks more like a man. And her record, it looks like she has more experience. I guess that's my only reasoning. So next up, we have a bit of a tricky one, Jalen Turner and Ignacio Bahamondes. Now, the only reason I think this is a tricky one to determine is because Jalen Turner has lost 3 out of his 5 recent fights he lost, and Ignacio only lost 1 out of his 5 recent fights. And I mean, this is most likely for good reason. Jalen Turner is going against people like Moicano, Hooker, Gamrot, really, really highly ranked, really good MMA fighters, whereas Ignacio isn't even in the top 15 ranking, and his loss was against L. Klein, and I have never heard of this individual actually. We can overall say that we don't know a lot about Ignacio, and we know quite a bit about Jalen. He knocked out Bobby Green, but just the fact that he lost to Moicano, Hooker, and Gamrot means that he probably isn't like a higher ranked contender. So this could be a good tell for the future if Ignacio is ready for those higher ranks. If he loses to Jalen Turner, I feel like that's a pretty bad sign that he won't be champ of the lightweight division anytime soon. But then if he wins, I mean, obviously, new fighter that's going to be in the rankings, and we're going to see how well he can do. Their height is the same. Pretty sure they have the same reach. Going off all of this information, I'm just going to say that Ignacio is going to win here. I feel like Jalen Turner having this bad streak of losses, I feel like that's not very great for his mental. I feel like he's just not overall going to be ready for this fight. And Jalen Turner is, in my opinion, more of a striker, whereas Ignacio, again, we don't really know what he's capable of. There isn't a lot to go off of when judging him. That's not a bad thing. He's going to be new to the rankings, so I'm sure we're going to see more of him. But just based off what I know right now in the fights I've seen him fight in, I do really think that he could beat Jalen Turner. Ignacio might be, a little bit of a younger guy. He might be someone that just recently joined the UFC. Might be unranked even, but if you guys have watched this guy, if you have seen his crazy fucking knockouts, like I'm gonna play a couple on the screen. This guy's fucking disgusting, bro. And I'm not trying to glaze this guy, you know, but just to put into words of how good he is. Jalen Turner, I feel like, does not have that same effect. Just like when he fought Moicano, obviously this guy's a little bit cocky, and I feel like if Ignacio lands like a spinning kick or just even a head kick, I feel like Jalen Turner will get knocked out. I had my video all edited, all the clips, all the audio perfect, everything excellent. And then, of course, later in the day, fight announcement comes out, and it's fucking Rafael Fiziev. What? Oh, listen, guys, I'm not a hater. He's a pretty good fighter. He lost his last 2 fights. One of them, to be fair, against Gamrot, he lost because of a fucking broken foot, something like that. But then he lost to Gaethje, and this was 2 years ago. This guy hasn't fought for 2 years, and he comes back and he gets to fight fucking Justin Gaethje, rank number 3. Are you fucking kidding me? I think under no circumstance does this motherfucker deserve this fight. But it is what it is. Regardless, he got this fight, and my opinion on this is he gets fucking knocked out. He hasn't fought in 2 years. I in general, just don't like him as a fighter, to be completely frank. Again, not in a hateful way, but I just don't like the way he fights. Gaethje does have a shorter reach, and he is older. He is a lot taller than him. Not that I think this is like some sort of statistic that will drastically change the outcome of the fight. But I mean, yeah. I will say again, I don't think this guy deserves a fight. I feel like it will be a pretty clear knockout. He's kind of like a stand and bang, but he's just not effective, if that makes sense. And yeah, for that reason, Gaethje, you know, like. Next up, obviously the one everyone is excited for, Pereira or Ankalaev. Now this video is a hard one to make because Pereira is kind of this kind of knockout guy. He knocks out absolutely everybody, and you know, it's hard to see him in a decision type of fight. And Ankalaev is kind of this decision guy where he does have knockouts, but not as much as Pereira, and he goes to decision a lot more. You can see this in a lot of fights. Pereira, obviously, his last 4 or 5 fights, knockout. Ankalaev, his last 5 fights, 2 draws and 3 wins. Now, in my opinion, against Blachowicz, I don't really know if that was a draw. I would kind of more side with Ankalaev winning, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's a draw, man. Can't argue it. Regardless, this is going to be a hard fight to predict. If Ankalaev takes it to the ground, Pereira won't have much to do. Ankalaev has 0 submissions in his history, same with Pereira. So if this fight does get taken to the ground, I feel like these two will either wrestle on the ground and not really go to a submission, or they'll stand back up. Ankalaev has a pretty strong chin. We've never seen him knocked out. And so, again, even if Pereira hits him with that left hook, not really sure if he'll get knocked out. Overall, as much as I love Ankalaev, we do have to look at his fight with Blachowicz. I feel like this is the greatest kind of like skill v skill, where Blachowicz did a lot of damage, you know, was able to take it to a decision. Ultimately, it was a draw, regardless of what other people might say. And it was the same thing with Pereira, except it got taken to a decision and Pereira actually won. So I mean, we also have to take this into consideration. A lot of people might say, well, oh, Ankalaev won. Even if the UFC judges were favoring Blachowicz and were hating, kind of, I guess, on Ankalaev, that is a factor, because regardless, that might change the decision of the fight. We know that Pereira is liked a lot more. If Ankalaev isn't liked as much and it gets taken to a decision, he might lose just because they don't like him. You know, it is what it is, man. With all this information in mind, I'm going to say Alex Pereira, round 1 knockout. Obviously, I'm joking, but I am going to give it to Pereira. I think that it will be some sort of knockout, maybe in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't think Ankalaev will be able to take it to the ground as much as people think he will, and I think Pereira will ultimately dominate him in the stand-up. With this being said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you guys enjoy the fight. It is in, like, I believe 2 weeks. There's a fight night next week. And yeah, see you guys later.